Welcome back to Diary of a Speed Reader. Today's book is The Flavor Matrix by James Briscone and Brooke Parkhurst, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. Now this week we're talking about data and AI, and this book gives you the status on what IBM Watson is doing as relates to cooking. But it's so clever, it does it in the context of a cookbook. And while I'm less impressed with the recipes that came out, I am very impressed with the way they're thinking about it. I would say to all my chef friends, Xiaota, my friends over in Mexico City, as well as Tommy Lamandola, I would take a look at this book so that you could see what a computer is attempting to do and how that relates to your own recipe making process in your mind. And I'm going to give you 3 of my takeaways. But first, I would be so grateful if you would go to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and help me grow that effort. If you're watching on Instagram, I will put directions in my comments. Now let's get into what makes this book so wonderful. And the first thing is it describes how complex it actually is to ask a computer to put together recipes. And I want to make sure that people understand the computer was unable to create full-on recipes. Instead, it spit out ingredients that it thought were interesting, and then 2 chefs kind of sat there and made great recipes out of it. And there's a reason why that's the case. Still, this is really about seeing where AI has come to, and when you take into consideration that there are thousands of chemical reactions going into play, and then as soon as a bite enters the mouth, there's 1,000 more chemical reactions that happen on the secondary play. You get to realize how amazing it is that they have any clue what ingredients to put together, and it gives you such an appreciation for what a chef actually is doing. Now, the second thing really has to do with the frameworks that are used to describe things, and this is relevant whether you're interested in AI, data, or if you just want to be a rock star in the kitchen, able to cook whatever with whatever ingredients. Now, they have a couple that I really appreciated. The first had to do with the concept of taking major food items and describing best pairings, surprise pairings, and substitutes. Interestingly, truffle has no substitute, and that makes sense to me. But I also think it has no surprise pairings at this point for anyone that's gone to every restaurant and tried like 1,000,001 random things people try to add truffle to. The other thing that it talks about has to do with the 6 flavors and what constitutes a balancing flavor versus what constitutes a complementary flavor. If you're one of those types of cooks that just does it by feel, that's kind of my deal. It'll be interesting to see how it matches out to how you think about it. Now, the last thing really has to do with this book as a status report on where we're at with AI. And I think we've come really, really far, but there's still a lot more to go. I got the impression that the reason you needed the chefs was because there is a certain, still guessing to how you put the ingredients actually together in cooking, the techniques that you'd use, etc. Additionally, it seems that there is not quite a consideration for texture yet in the system, even though they've clearly categorized those things out. And I think there's a lot of nuance in all of these things, so it'd be intriguing to know more about the scale of texture and the scale of flavors. Overall, while I can see a lot of the top best chefs using this information to inform their recipes, I think they're still probably good for a little while in making great recipes. But again, I would absolutely read this if this is your passion, because it's so intriguing how this other completely non-related field is thinking about food. Additionally, I don't know that I want to do too many more cookbooks while we're under quarantine because it made me so hungry. Speed reading stats. This book was 332 pages. It took me 38 minutes to read, but it's recipes and a lot of great pictures, which made me mostly hungry. If you'd like to learn more about speed reading, please feel free to comment below. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting. Thank you to the New York Public Library for having great stuff on e-reader to get us through this quarantine period. Stay healthy, and I will see you tomorrow.